Okay, so this one is y equals negative x. And they want us to graph this thing. Y equals negative x. How do we graph it? Well, remember that the number that's off to the right, and there's nothing, of course, is your vertical y-intercept. That's your vertical y-intercept. So we have no number off to the right. So what does that really mean? 0. So it's right here. At a height of 0 on the y-axis, x-axis, it starts off at this is a height of 0 here. Huh? A little bit better. 0, right? You see how the numbers go? 0, 1, 2, 3, and down below -1, -2, -3. So if there's no number off to the right, that's the same thing as saying plus 0. Do you see why I'm saying it's the same thing? Because adding 0 changes nothing, right? Like if I go 7 or 7 plus 0, that's the same thing. They're both 7, aren't they? So that's what I'm saying. Negative x or negative x plus 0, they're the same thing. They're both just negative x. And now you can tell what the number off to the right is. It's 0. It's 0. Okay. So then next, you're supposed to get the slope. How do you get the slope? Well, it's the fraction in front of x. Now, what's in front of x here? There's nothing in front of x, right? Well, there's a -1, and then you can put that over 1. So there's our slope. It's -1 over 1. That's the slope. That's the rise over run. Do you see how I did that there? We've done this before. When there's no number in front of x, it's the same thing as a 1, or in this case, since there's a negative sign, it's a -1. And you can always put things over 1 because that dividing by 1 doesn't change anything. So -1 over 1, which is just a fancy way to say -1, right? 1 over 1 is just 1. So -1 over 1 is the same thing. And why do I do that? Well, because I need a top and a bottom so I can tell what the rise and the run are. You might say, well, how, you just put whatever, you can just put a 2 down there? No, that would be different, wouldn't it? 2, that'd be a half. That's not the same as 1. So, right, you with me? 1 over 1 is -1 over 1 is the same thing. It's just a big -1. All right, rise over run. So what are we going to do now with that rise over run? I'm going to go down 1. There's my down 1 rise and over 1 run. And there is our second dot. And now just connect the dots. Like so. And it'll make a line for you. There we go. So let's recap one more time. We just said y equals -x. So we needed a number off to the right. That has to be 0 because there's nothing there. So adding 0 is the same thing as having nothing there. So that's our vertical y-intercept. At a height of 0, we know the graph goes through a height of 0. And then there was nothing in front of x, but a minus sign. That really means -1. Put it over 1 so it looks like a fraction so you can tell what rise and run are because that's the slope. Whatever's next to x is the slope. Make it look like a fraction, -1 over 1. So that means you go down 1 over 1 from your first point to your second point. And that's how you find your second point. Connect the dots, you got your line. Notice that anytime you have a negative slope, the lines go down to the right, don't they? Down to the right. Look back at some of the other ones we've done. This one also. This one had, well, once you get y alone, we had a negative slope, went down to the right. Whereas this one right here had a positive 4/3 slope, went up to the right. So the slope tells you if the line goes up or down to the right. There we go.